Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you're a defense contractor or you're just getting ready for a CMMC assessment, this is for you.
Definitely. Especially if you're trying to navigate that jungle of acronyms that DoD loves to throw around.
Today we're really cracking the code on something fundamental. CMMC asset classifications and scope. This is the shortcut to understanding what the DoD actually cares about.
And it's so important. I mean, this topic can seem a bit academic sometimes, but knowing how your IT environment gets categorized is, well, it's the tactical key to saving a lot of resources.
You could be spending money you just don't need to.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars, easily,
Yeah.
if you don't get which assets need a full audit versus which ones just need, good documentation.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward then. We're going to decode that list of asset types.
Right, because it's way more than just in scope and out of scope, and we're going to hammer home that critical distinction, the one that saves you time and money between a full assessment and just a limited review.
The core insight for you to take away is that this whole compliance thing is about gradations.
Exactly. Not every server or laptop connected to your network is treated the same. Understanding these classifications lets you focus your security budget where the CUI, the controlled unclassified information, actually is.
Okay, let's get tactical. There are 6 critical asset types that every contractor needs to track. Think of it as the playbook for your security plan.
Let's just run through the list. We'll start with the two most straightforward ones. First up is the ESP.
External service provider.
Right. Basically, any vendor or cloud service that's outside your building. Your managed services provider, your Microsoft Azure environment, that kind of thing.
Got it. And the second one?
That would be the SPA or security protection asset. These are the tools that are absolutely essential for protecting CUI.
So we're talking firewalls, intrusion detection systems, log servers.
All of that. And here's the immediate connection you need to make.
Hmm.
If your cloud provider is an ESP and they're hosting your CUI, they are by definition an SPA as well.
Because they're providing security for that data.
Precisely. They fall into both categories. Okay, now let's get into the trickier ones, the ones that require more risk management. Third is the CRMA.
Contractor risk managed asset. This one sounds like it could be a gray area.
It's where organizations can save a lot of time and money, actually. A CRMA is an IT asset that could technically handle CUI, but your internal policy strictly forbids it.
Give us an example.
Think about the server that handles your internal payroll, or the laptop your accountant uses just for QuickBooks. It's on the same corporate network, maybe, but your policies and your technical controls ensure CUI never, ever touches that machine.
So you'd have to prove that it's isolated.
Exactly. You have to prove it. If you can't show that technical and policy separation, it gets pulled right into the full assessment scope instantly.
Okay. What else is on the list?
So fourth is OT, operational technology. We'll come back to that. Fifth is supporting organizations. And sixth, finally, are the truly out-of-scope assets.
Okay, let's pause here. We need to focus on those, what you called specialized assets, the OT and the CRMAs. This is where the shortcut is, right?
This is the shortcut.
So OT, operational technology, for anyone in manufacturing or engineering, this is a huge deal.
It's massive. OT covers all those systems that aren't your typical IT. We're talking industrial control systems, SCADA systems, the PLCs running the robots on the factory floor.
And these things are often running on really old software. They're a nightmare to patch. And you can't just apply the full CMMC control set to a 20-year-old PLC.
You'd break it. You'd
Right.
shut down the line. It's a recipe for disaster. And the good news is CMMC gets that.
So what's the requirement for OT?
It's non-negotiable. They've mostly documented. You can't just pretend they don't exist. But the kind of assessment they go through is completely different.
Okay, so let's tie this back to the CRMAs. Both OT and CRMAs are these so-called specialized assets. They don't need the, what did you call it, the full grill assessment.
Yeah, the full grill. They skip the full battery of tests and control validation. This is the biggest efficiency gain in the whole CMMC process.
Okay, there's a specific code for this, isn't there? I've seen it referenced, CA.L2-3.12.4. What does that actually mean for the contractor on the ground?
It's more than just a code. It's a specific CMMC control. And it's all about your system security plan, your SSP. The control basically says you have to define and document your system boundary.
So for these specialized assets like OT and CRMAs, the focus shifts away from technical testing.
Entirely. It shifts to the documentation. Instead of proving your PLC's firewall has MFA, you're proving to the assessor, the C3PAL, that you've documented why you chose a different control, or why air gapping is your risk mitigation strategy.
So the assessor just reviews your SSP.
They review your SSP. They're looking for a thoughtful, well-documented approach. If your logic is sound and written down, you satisfy that CA.L2 3.1.2.4 requirement, no tearing apart your factory floor needed.
That is a massive distinction. But I have to ask, if you're telling an assessor, hey, this asset could hold CUI, but we promise it doesn't, isn't that just inviting them to dig deeper?
That's a great question. But think about how modern networks actually work. Very few things are truly physically air-gapped anymore. The CRMA classification is just being honest about that connectivity while giving you a path to reduce the audit burden.
So it's better to be upfront about it.
Much better. Trying to claim something is out of scope when it isn't truly isolated is a fast track to a failed assessment.
That makes sense. Let's switch to the boundaries themselves. We hear certification boundary and assessment scope used a lot. What's the tactical difference?
Okay, so the certification boundary is the big bubble. It's around everything needed to handle CUI securely. The CUI itself, the systems, the SPAs, the ESPs, the whole environment gets certified.
But the assessment scope is what the C3PAO, the assessor, actually looks at.
Right. It's the subset they actually test. A classic example is a guest Wi-Fi network. It's in your building, so it's technically inside the overall boundary. But if it's completely segmented and can't touch CUI, the assessor won't waste time testing its controls. It's outside the assessment scope.
Okay. So what about things that are definitively completely out of scope?
The clearest examples are DoD-owned laptops, what they call government-furnished equipment, or GFE. The government is responsible for securing those, so they're out of your direct assessment scope.
And what about, say, a conference room?
A temporary space like a conference room, as long as it has zero interaction with any CUI data flow, is also out of scope. But there's a trapdoor.
There's always a trapdoor.
Always. And it's federal contract information, or FCI. If an asset you thought was out of scope suddenly touches FCI, boom, it's pulled right back into scope for CMMC Level 1. You have to watch all your data flows.
Briefly, what about supporting organizations?
Those are usually internal groups, like HR or legal. They support the environment, but don't handle CUI directly. Their scope status really depends. If they run the patch management system for the whole company, they're probably in scope as an SPA. If they just handle benefits, probably out.
Let's pivot to something super granular but really important for an audit. Markings. The CUI banners. If you get these wrong, it's a huge red flag for an assessor.
Oh, absolutely. It shows a lack of control. There are two main patterns you just have to commit to memory.
What's the first one?
For any document with control technical information, CTI, the marking is very specific. It has to be CUISPT CTI.
And what about for export-controlled info like ITAR?
For that, you use CUISPEXPT, or if it's also restricted from foreign nationals, you add no foreign at the end. Getting these banners right is non-negotiable.
Perfect. So as we wrap up, let's focus on the biggest mistakes, the exam traps people fall into when they're preparing their SSP.
Okay, trap number 1. Thinking that just because something is connected to the network, it's automatically in scope for a full assessment. That's wrong. Totally wrong. Remember those specialized assets. Just being connected doesn't mean it needs the full Level 2 audit if it's properly managed and documented.
What's trap number 2?
Trying to pretend that specialized assets, especially OT, are completely out of scope. They are in scope, but only for that limited SSP review we talked about under CATLL 2-3.12.4. You can never just exclude them.
And trap number 3?
Misclassifying government property. Those DoD laptops, the GFE, they aren't your CUI assets to manage. They're specialized assets. You document their interaction with your environment, but you aren't responsible for their full assessment.
And then the final one, the one that could sink the whole thing.
Trying to exclude operational technology entirely. We see it all the time. Contractors argue it's air-gapped, it's irrelevant, but because OT is critical infrastructure, it must be documented and included in the certification boundary.
So this all comes down to a simple chart, really. Let's build that final cheat chart for everyone listening. First, what's out of scope?
Easy. DoD governed property, so GFE, and any temporary spaces that never ever touch CUI.
Next, the main event. What's in scope for a full assessment?
That's your core CUI environment. The systems holding the CUI, all your security protection assets firewalls, SIMs your external service providers, and the computers your security admins use. That's the heavy lift.
And finally, the strategic shortcut. In scope for that, limited SSP review only.
These are your specialized assets. The CRMAs, all of your OT and industrial control equipment, most GFE, and things like test and calibration equipment. Remember, that limited review, is the key.
Understanding that structure is really the foundation for an efficient, successful CMMC assessment.
It absolutely is. If you can master asset classification, you are more than halfway there.
Which brings us to our final thought. Since these really critical assets, like operational technology and risky ones like CRMAs, are only subject to a systems security plan review, well, what does this limited assessment really mean for the long-term security of the supply chain? Is the DoD's reliance on the documentation of security for these high-risk areas as effective as the full technical validation of controls would be?
A question that really gets to the heart of cyber compliance, doesn't it?
It really does. Thank you for providing the material for this deep dive.
My pleasure. And thanks for joining us.
And thank you for listening to the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.